Hey, everybody, welcome back. Another brand new edition of 20 Minutes. And, I always enjoy bringing coaches in from all over the state of Illinois. And didn't have to go very far for our coach today. Again, it's just amazing how his career has taken off here. Of course, I'm talking about the head coach of Joliet Catholic Academy, Jake Jaworski. And Jaws, I appreciate you taking some time this morning. Going into your fifth year as head coach, and you've got 2 state titles. It's a nice track record for you so far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's all great, and have enjoyed the experiences. But wouldn't have ever been possible if not for my coaching staff. Just some awesome guys, donate a lot of time, a lot of hard work, keep me in line. All right, and are the brains of the operation, and my coaching staff, but then also our kids. All the credit goes to them and our coaches, and I'm just lucky to be a part of it.
You mentioned, let's start with your coaches right now. Any changeover from last year? You got all your same guys back?
Yeah, no, as far as I know right now, yeah, we're full steam ahead with same group of guys. It's been a very loyal staff. There hasn't been too much change. I'd like to say there hasn't been too much change in my 5 years, but if you go back 15, 20, some guys even 30 years, Dave Douglas, our offensive line coach, assistant AD, just the guy that's put so much time and effort, and big reason why we've had the success over the years that we had. Coach Mac McLaughlin, is still going, and those guys, have been very loyal. And then we've added some fresh young blood. Our defensive coordinator Zach Dolph has done a great job. He loves to be called the interim defensive coordinator for us, as he took over this past spring. And I said, I'll give you that name until we lose our first game with you as DC. Then you're full time.
Awesome. I mean, do you still enjoy 14-0 in a state title, or when did you put that behind you?
Yeah, it's obviously a long season. It goes almost into December, and then when you win the state championship, there's a lot of things that that linger on. In an office right now, our championship state rings actually just got delivered yesterday, so it's nice. It's planning a celebration in the chapel on Thursday to distribute those. Joliet City Council is honoring us tonight, at the city council meeting. So there's it's kind of a delicate balance. You definitely try to unwind a little bit shortly after the season. It was great having college coaches back in during that winter time, so we were extremely busy during that time. So it's kind of that balance of enjoying, last year, but then also, we're, churning out summer schedules, contacting coaches for 7-on-7s, and our guys are full go in the weight room. So it's that balance right now, but where it's been good.
So you played 20 games in a year last year. A lot of people don't realize you had the spring season.
A lot of football. It was a lot of football.
A lot of football. How in the world were you guys able to survive it? And I've got to imagine, at least from a team and a health standpoint, obviously luck plays into it, but I'm going to say your off-season work plays into it as well. Talk about the importance of, obviously your kids are renowned for the weight room and the amount of work that they put in, but was last year the year that it really just kind of paid off in a lot of different ways?
Yeah, for sure. And that's a credit to our kids. They continued when things were shut down in the fall of 2020. Even going back to the summer when things were kind of limited, when we were working in pods of 10 over at Rudy's and doing temp checks and symptom checks, walking into the door at the gym. I never thought I'd be in that situation, but obviously Rudy's a godsend, especially now for me personally. So much has changed in my personal life in the past 5 years with, 4 young kids and whatnot, that he bears the brunt of the off season. And, it's tried and true. It's going back, I think of, Tom Thayer, when Tom Thayer was at Joliet Catholic in the 70s, working out Rudy's gym, in his garage back when that's where his gym was. And then when Coach Sharp made him the kind of official strength and conditioning coordinator in 1997, our guys have just really bought in, and he gets our guys so prepared, and they continued to work throughout the off season when we were shut down in the pandemic, and it's been a godsend for me, and when you have the success that we've kind of had, through our history, but when Coach Sharp took over and guys bought into Rudy's way back then, and it's it's something that it's so just deep in our culture, and it's our culture setter, for a lot of our program and whatnot, that the guys buy in and they work hard, and that's where the camaraderie, the team building, it's so much the physical aspect of it, and getting stronger and pushing yourself to limits, but it goes really deep into building team culture, and guys pushing each other and holding each other accountable. So he's the MVP of our program.
Yeah. Taking a look back at last season, what was the key game, as far as you're concerned, that that the game that maybe told you, hey, you know what? And I think you knew you had a pretty special group going back probably to spring football,
right,
going into that year. Because you knew what you had coming back, and a lot of those kids came back after spring ball. But was there a game in particular during that run that it just kind of really hit you that, hey, you know what, we've got a chance to make a really long run?
All the games are real important, but for a championship caliber team, obviously the Brother Rice game was an awesome game for a lot of reasons. Not so much just because they're of the program they have and the team that they had, but being able to go on the road, and that was the first time we kind of were really challenged, and we were challenged big time, especially the way the game started, and I just, not only the caliber that they were, but how the game unfolded and the way our guys were able to overcome some adversity, especially early on. I think that game kind of, when you're building a championship team, you want your guys to be challenged. And I think our two non-cons, were definitely challenging in a number of different ways. But to get to, I think it was week 7 against Rice, we were kind of down for the first time, down early against a formidable opponent. How are we going to respond? Because, going through the playoffs, you're going to have to, overcome some adversity. And it was, did we have that? And, everybody's good when you're out ahead and you have a big lead and whatnot. But, what happens when you're down, when you get punched in the face? How do you respond? And, I think that was kind of the game where it's kind of like, all right, we'll be ready to take on any challenges moving forward. And then, we ended up being down 14 the next week right away. And then we were down 7 the next week on the first play of the game, so I didn't want that to continue, but just showed our guys were able to bounce back. And then you go into the semifinals against Richmond Burton, you're down at halftime, and I just think we were confident that we could, if we came out and got things going, that, we could handle that kind of adversity.
Interested in your take on 6A and below now going 1 through 32 from a seeding standpoint. Just your thoughts, and does it matter in the big picture to you? I know you guys just will play whoever, but
yeah, I've kind of, people have asked me before, and I don't know. Sometimes I don't dive too deep into that kind of stuff because sometimes I'm not smart enough to understand how it might affect us. But I just think back of since I've been coaching here, and whether we've been in 5A, 6A, 4A, we've always kind of been right on that north-south, kind of line anyway. So whether it was going, last year being in, about as far north as you can be at Richmond Burton for a semifinal, and we played a quarterfinal in Cahokia. So we've kind of done that travel aspect throughout, and again, we've been in the North bracket where there's been great teams, and we've been in the South bracket where there's great teams. I don't know in the grand scheme of things how much it will really affect us. I know there's some, especially like 6A, I think you look at like Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge and, those guys, being really good teams and sometimes meeting each other in the second, third round where they, I think maybe in that case, that might benefit some of those teams there and kind of affect the overall playoff. But as of right now, I'm not exactly sure how much it really affects us.
Yeah, and you mentioned travel. Is that a big part of the playoff experience for you? You
Oh
mentioned
yeah,
going up
it's
to
awesome.
Richmond,
Yeah,
Richmond Burton, a place that I guarantee you probably 99% of your kids, your parents, and your alumni had never been to before.
yeah, that's all. I mean, I look back at my time coaching, my time as a player, and going on the road in the playoffs is just it's a cool experience. Just experiencing different teams, and with everything on the line and the crowds that you get, the environments you get, it's a really cool experience. The bus rides, the bus trips. Especially if you're getting on that bus victorious, coming home, it's a pretty cool feeling. So we love going on the road in the playoffs. We've kind of had a little history of being on the road in the semis too, and that's always just such a unique experience.
What's the schedule look like this year? Did you get things completed, or are you still looking for a game somewhere?
So yeah, so we're still looking for a week 1 game.
Okay.
We have Immaculate Conception week 2. How our conference schedule aligns. We still have Crete Moni in week 5, but we're still kind of browsing for week 1.
Okay. Also, with the rejuggling of the CCLE SEC,
Right.
I mean, come on, it's great to get Providence back on the schedule, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. It was a cool atmosphere last year. Being able to get crowds again. I look back at that Brother Rice game. That was another awesome part of that game is just the environment, 2 high-ranked teams, and really kind of seeing a full stadium, on both sides was cool. And I think having Providence too. I know they're kind of a new coach, a little transition. They were pretty young last year, so expecting them to be a pretty formidable opponent as we travel to them, this coming year.
You graduate a tremendous senior class. I mean, both in talent and numbers as well. Yet you've got some key underclassmen coming back. The one kid I want to start off with right away is Anthony Biersa, who committed recently to Northwestern. Jaws, what are the Wildcats getting in him, and what kind of player, and what does he have to offer?
I think they're just getting a tremendous kid in general. Anthony is a guy will be a no doubt captain for us. He was mixed in with 4 seniors on the offensive line this past year, and the way he carries himself on the field, you would have thought he would have been a senior too. Just a confident kid, just a coach's dream. Kid works extremely hard in the weight room. Had a really good basketball season this past winter, and as busy as basketball is, he was still out at the gym with the guys as much as he could be, 2-3 times a week. Just a kid with a good football IQ, asked great questions, obviously mentored by Coach Douglas, but just a kid that's all in, just got a great attitude, always upbeat, always positive. Like I said, he'll be a leader for us, huge part of what we'll have coming back. And, they're just getting it. And then he's got some nasty. He's the nicest kid off the field, and he's just got some nasty in him, between the whistles. And a kid that just plays hard, plays to the whistle, and just a really upbeat, positive kid. And I think as good as he's been and as good as he will be, I think his best football is still ahead of him. He's got a great frame. He's very athletic. Even last year, there was times, depending on depth of the line, I wanted to play him at tight end to some extent because he's got great hands. He's got some route running ability. He's just an athlete. He's just a big. Think about a guy like Mike Kaloje, who went to play at Michigan. As an offensive tackle, played tight end and defensive line for us here. Jim Jadron, same way when he was at. Jim was a sophomore when I was a senior. A big kid that went to Indiana, played tight end. As a sophomore, and that was where Anthony was. We just so needed him at guard, and he's got some flexibility to play guard. He got the ability to play tackle too. So we'll kind of place him where we need him most heading into next year. But just an awesome kid. Comes from a great family, a Joliet Catholic family that has a long history. It's a legacy family, and just and obviously he's got the grades, to go to a
Yeah.
Northwestern, so he's awesome in the classroom. So he's just kind of like an all-American kid in my mind. Just going to enjoy the heck out of him for one more year.
Seems like the last couple of years you have these type of athletes that you could do a lot of things with, and I think of Malachi Hood right off the top,
Yeah.
where you saw him and you just thought, okay, I don't know what he's going to wind up, but whatever it is, he's going to be really good. Is that the same kind of feeling with Justin Bonsu for you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, a little bit. Malachi had a long kind of history of playing defense too. So he can kind of on the lower levels. He played a lot of running back, especially with with Jordan Anderson kind of moved up a little bit as a freshman. He kind of bounced between the freshman and sophomore levels. Malachi was a heck of a running back, but we kind of always saw with his frame, projecting him to the next level. Didn't really see him at running back, so we kind of put him in the secondary at our strong safety rover position. And then throughout the year with injuries and whatnot, he played rover, he played Sambacker, he played will linebacker, and it just kind of Swiss Army knife type kid. Justin a little bit more offensive minded, I think, from a player standpoint. There may be some things depending on this summer how things shake out where we might look at him on the defensive side a little bit, but he's been primarily an offensive player. Again, playing running back as a freshman and sophomore, and he just kind of continued to grow and get longer and lankier, kind of outgrowing. I say outgrowing. We had a 6'3", 235-pound running back last year, but just kind of he's a little bit more longer and leaner than Jordan was, and I think for him, in his mind too, his next level projection probably puts him as a receiver, outside guy, and whatnot. So, we asked him to do that. We asked him to kind of take on that role a little bit for us this past year. And he did a heck of a job because that position in our offense is a little bit more demanding with blocking inside the box and whatnot. And he played really, really well. Didn't have a ton of production, but, we kind of had a long list of guys that were producing and whatnot. And he just put his head down and went to work every single day and just kind of whatever we asked him to do. But we're going to rely on him to be kind of a big play guy for us this coming fall.
Defensively, I mean, I've counted 5 starters back, all 4 linemen back, defensive linemen back. That's a nice place to start, Jaws.
Yeah, it's a really nice place to start, especially because going into last year, it was a big question mark for us. I think you look at one guy in Jeremy Johnson, a junior, who was kind of, we had 2 3-year starters in Michael Rouse and Robbie Purchase at the inside linebacker spots, and Jeremy was an inside backer his first 2 years, and just kind of a guy that needed to get on the field. And we talked about him playing a defensive end spot, and he had double-digit sacks, double-digit tackles for loss. Just a guy that uses his speed and linebacker instincts at the defensive end spot. You look inside, you got a guy like Hunter Powell, who's kind of a little throwback type player, kind of a tweener at the next level type guy, but he'll be a bruising fullback for us this coming year, and then has played some defensive tackle and played defensive end. And just another guy that's kind of in that like 235, 240 range, just a really, really good high school football player. He's got some nasty in him. He kind of teamed up. It's kind of a cool story. He had wrestled for a lot of his growing up, and he didn't go out because of the schedule change in wrestling last year with it being after football. He kind of didn't go out for wrestling this year, but they had an injury. They had an injury at his weight class, and they kind of approached him about coming out. He came out, a couple weeks before tournament time, and got himself into shape, and actually had a huge pin in the dual state championship match against in the finals or whatever against Deerfield, and it kind of started the run of pins that kind of put him in this. So the guy was another state champion, won a state championship in football in the fall, and then another one in wrestling. Yeah. And same thing with Dylan Johnson. He's kind of a hot name on the recruiting trail right now. He's only a sophomore right now, but just a heck of a player. He's got great bloodlines, but just a really smart kid. And he went undefeated as a heavyweight in wrestling, won an individual state championship, and then helped win the team state championship. I mean, that's a heck of a run there. I don't know. Coach Douglas and I were kind of talking about that. Like, we've had a lot of successful athletes come through the program, the football program, over the years, but to have a guy win a state championship as every play down lineman at defensive line, go on to win an individual state wrestling championship and a team. He's got 3 state championships in a matter of a couple months. But he's just a terror. I mean, he's one of the best defensive linemen I've ever been around at the high school level. Just so advanced physically, so advanced from a technique standpoint, and he's only going to get better. And then the 4th guy is Billy Burke, who's a junior, played defensive end for us, be a good player, maybe mix in at tight end a little bit this coming year. So it's a good place to start, on defense is up front. And we got a lot of holes to fill in the back 7, but we got some guys that bided their time, the juniors that will be seniors that bided their time and learned behind the guys last year. And we got some, sophomores, going to be sophomores and juniors, that will be competing for spots as well. So it'll be a busy summer for us for sure.
Biggest concern, offensive skills?
I think figuring out how to work in the skills. I think we have definitely some guys returning, some guys poised to have some breakout years. Obviously guys didn't get a ton of chances last year because of who was in front of them, but feel pretty good. We get quarterback and TJ Schlageter, who came in and had a heck of a game against Bennett when we were down early, and we suffered an injury to Aiden Voss, lost him for the game, and he led us back to victory. Just a big kid, 6'2", 200 pounds, will be top of the staff pitcher for the baseball team this spring, mid-80s lefty guy, a lot of confidence, so feel pretty good at the quarterback spot. We got another junior, and Andres Munoz was a good player for us on the lower levels at that spot too. And then just got a number of guys to work in at the wingback spot. I mean, Hunter Powell will step in at the fullback spot for us. Yep. The 3-back spot, and we probably have 3 or 4 guys that will be competing for those for the wingback spot. So definitely a question mark, but I feel like we have the guys there that will get the job done.
Overall numbers have been great the last handful of years. Do they remain that way for this year?
Yeah, I believe so. We're graduating a good amount of kids, but last year we were right around like 40, 45 freshmen, which this day and age has been awesome. It's been great. We kind of saw, we kind of, I don't want to say struggle, but we were able to maintain somehow through the COVID, that people have been dealing with, to keep our numbers up. And, I think we're poised to have a pretty good group coming in this coming year too. So numbers have been pretty good. I think we were right around like 130 football players this past fall, which is an outstanding number, especially kind of where we kind of dug ourselves out of, for prior years. But, hopefully that's, in football, it's very important.
All right. So somebody step up and give this guy a game week 1, will you? Jake Jaworski, Joliet Catholic Academy. Always appreciate your time, my friend. Go back. You got kids to go influence and educate. All right.
Thanks, Edgy. I appreciate it. Thanks again for everything you do, for our kids and for our sport in Illinois.